Hi, so today we're going to be talking about circles, and this lesson is necessary for a well-rounded education. So circles, as we know, a circle is the set of all points that are the same distance from a given point, which is the center. Now, we actually have two formulas for this. The first one is going to be standard form when it's at the origin, or 0, 0. And when it's at the origin, we're going to just use x squared plus y squared equals r squared. If this looks familiar, it's because it's actually a variation on the Pythagorean theorem, because we can use the Pythagorean theorem from the center to any point to find what the radius would be. Now, standard form whenever it's anywhere but the origin is, so whenever it's at hk, is this version. X minus h plus y minus k, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if you notice, this one is very similar to distance formula that you learned a while back ago. All right, so what we're going to be doing in this case is we are going to be writing an equation of a circle with the given center and radius, and then we're going to graph the circle. So for that, I'm going to be writing on my iPad, which is what I'm using in this. So when I'm looking, I'm actually looking there instead of, right here. So let's see. So if our center, which once again is hk, is 4, -3, and our radius is 4, we can start out by doing x minus h, so x minus 4 squared plus y minus, well, since it's -3, it becomes plus 3 squared equals, and then our radius is 4, and 4 squared is 16. Then to graph, what I would do is I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, there's our point, and then 4 to the right, 4 to the left, 4 up, and 4 down. And watch as I magically graph with my perfect drawing. That was definitely me. Okay, let's try another one. So in this case, the center is at -5, 2, and the radius is 8. So we would say x minus our h value. So since it's minus a -5, it ends up becoming plus 5 squared plus y minus, in this case, 2 squared equals 8 squared is 64. So now, this is where there's a slight issue if you look at this graph. And the only reason why I'm using this graph is it's the same one that's in the notes. So the problem is there's not really space for it. So I have to make every line worth 2. So 1, 2, so -2, -4, -6. That's kind of the idea. So if I'm going to -5, 2, I'd start out here. That's my center at -5, 2. And then, because it's 8, but each one's worth 2, I'm actually only going to go 4 lines across. So I'm going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it ends up being about halfway between the first and second line would be our 3 value in this case. So we go up to the 5th line, down to the 3rd line, and right around here. And if I put these points in correctly, let's start drawing our circle. Oh, and that, once again, perfect. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to find the center and the radius of each circle. Then we're going to graph the circle. So in other words, now we're actually being given the equation, where right before we had been given the points. And so we're using that to find the center and radius. So the equation is pretty much doing the exact same thing we were doing before. It's just now, since we're saying x minus 16, that becomes 16. Y plus 9 becomes -9. So that's our new point, 16, -9. Our radius in this case is 12, because the square root of 144 is 12. So once again, we are faced with a dilemma, and I can't even use 2 because that wouldn't be big enough. So what I have to do is I have to choose how much do I want it to be. And I'm going to go with each of these lines is now worth 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, so on and so forth. So 16, negative 3, that means it'll be right around here. And then because the radius is 12, that means each point is going to be 4 away again, because 3 times 4 is 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's start drawing. All right, perfect. Here's our last one, and our last one says x plus 8 plus y plus 3, x plus 8 squared plus y plus 3 squared is 121. So what we're going to do in this case is our center is going to be at negative 8 and negative 3. And in this case, our radius, the square root of 11 is, or of 121 is 11. So let's see. In this case, I guess each part's going to have to be 4. So I'm going to go negative 4, negative 8, which means this is kind of our center. You know what? Rather than doing that, I'll go by 3s. Negative 3, negative 6, negative 9, meaning this is our point. So 3, 6, 9, 11, 3, 6, 9, nope, I can't do it that way. It's going to have to be 4s. Negative 4, negative 8, meaning this is our point. So 4, 8, 11, 4, 8, 11, 4, 8, 11, and 4, 8, 11. That's a little bit harder to do, but then we graph, and well, it's close. All right, so now what we're going to do is something that's a little bit easier, because that one's a little bit weird. What we're going to do is we are going to write an equation for the translation of the circle. X squared plus y squared is 9. To be honest, this is just what we've already been doing, except for one little detail. Instead of giving you a center, I'm giving you that we went right 4 and up 6. But since we're starting from the origin, it's pretty much I'm giving you a center. And I actually personally find it easier if I just say, what is my new center, and then graph it. So, and then write it. So my new center, if it went right 4, would be at 4. And up 6 would be 6. So then I can just say x minus 4 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals. Now, for the size of the radius squared, what I have to remember is, in this case, if I'm just translating, it doesn't get bigger or smaller. It just stays the same. So because of that, it's just going to be equal to 9. And there we go. Now, part of why, and I just want to make this clear, I like to first write the center, is, do you see where it says up 6? Up until this point this year, if I had said up 6, you would have said plus 6. So even though in your brain you can go, well, that means it'll be at 4, 6, your brain might naturally go y plus 6 if you just tried to do that by itself. So it's easier if I just write the center to me than trying to remember the change in the rule. So let's look at this one right here. We went left 5, which means it's now negative 5, and then up 3, which is 3. So if I wrote this equation, I would say x plus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, and because once again it doesn't get bigger or smaller, it's still going to be equal to 9. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the given information to write the equation for the circle. So in this case, we know the center is at 2, 1, so I can actually start this equation. X minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals, and I don't know this part. Now, to be fair, if I had a graph, I could probably go like from here to here and figure out that using right triangles. But because I don't have a graph on this page, I'm going to actually just use good old-fashioned plugging it in. So in this case, I'm given a point, And this point is the equivalent of an x and y value that should work in this equation. So I can go, in this case, 6 minus 2 squared plus 4 minus 1 squared. And that's going to equal whatever this is. So that becomes 4 squared plus 3 squared. And I already know what 3, 4 goes with when it's right triangles. But just for fun, it's going to be 16 plus 9, which is 25, which means our original equation is x squared plus x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 25. Now let's try this one, because we can't do what we did last time in this case. Our center is negative 2, 2, so I would say x plus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals, and I don't know. But what I do know is this fact right here. The circumference is 8 pi. And you might remember that the circumference can also be written as 2 pi r is equal to 8 pi. So what I'm needing in this case is r, so that I can then square it. So what I would do, and what I think any of us would naturally do, is just divide both sides by 2 pi. Now, 2 pi cancels out on the left side, and over here on the right, the pi's cancel out, and 8 over 2 means that r is 4. So that means r squared is 16, which I put up here to be equals 16, and that is our equation. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to rewrite the following circle equations in standard form. Then we're going to find the center and radius and graph the circle. So in this case, I'm going to actually, in this question, do one step that's honestly completely unnecessary. It actually is me doing something and then literally undoing it. But the reason why is normally this process would not work like this. This question has been specifically formatted to work already. But normally, you see, what we're doing is we would complete the square. And that plus 1 that you have right there would not work. Now in this case it would, but normally it wouldn't. So my normal first step would be to take out any just plain numbers and only leave variables that are at some point squared. So x's can stay and y's can stay. So what we would end up getting after I subtracted 1, which like I said we don't really need to do, is I would get x squared plus 2x plus y squared equals 3. And then what I would need to do is complete the square. So I would start with x squared plus 2x. And so in this case, and you might remember this, what we're doing is we're wanting this to become, x squared plus bx plus c, but it has to be something where it's going to be a perfect square. And so that means that c is going to be like half of b squared. So the way I do this is I ask, what is my b value in x squared plus 2x plus whatever? And it's 2. So what I would do is I would say 2 divided by 2 is 1. Which, by the way, means that this equation is going to be x plus 1 squared once I get to the end of this. And if I multiplied this out, like if I wasn't sure, what you would see is the last step is where we have to end up doing 1 times 1. And so that's why 1 squared is, in fact, just 1. So I would add 1, and like I said, I know we literally just took 1 out. Why are we doing this? And like I said, normally this wouldn't work this well. So that means it's going to equal 4 so far. But let's talk about y squared. So as you can see, y squared has nothing with it. There's no b value, no c. So if the b value was 0, half of 0 is 0. And 0 squared is 0. So we're literally adding nothing to it. Y squared is good by itself. We aren't moving it left or right, up or down. So I would just say plus y squared equals, in this case, 4. And then if I was wanting to figure out what my center was, I would say that my center was negative 1, 0. And I would say that in this case, that what we get here is that the radius is 4. So now we just need to graph. So I'm going to start by doing the easy part, which is, there's not an origin here. So I'm going to put in an origin like that. Ooh, ah. Now, let's see. Here's our main point. And then we're just going out 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh, our radius isn't 4. Why did I say that wrong? Our radius is the square root of 4. It's 2, which obviously I knew because I was doing it, but I wrote it wrong. And everyone would be like, but Mr. Peacock, why in the video did you say it was 4? It's 2. It's 2. And now we graph the circle. Oh, so perfect. And there we go. Now let's do one more. This one's a little bit harder because you can already see, first things first, I want to get rid of that 4. Move it out from where it is. I don't like that. That's the reason why we didn't do that last time. I just like everything being on the other side until I need it. So -4, -4. Now you'll notice x and y are both being squared, which means we get to keep them in this case, unlike in parabolas where only x was squared, so the y's had to move over. So we have to rewrite this, and I'm going to rewrite it where my x's are together and then my y's are together so that I can complete both squares. So x squared, but now I'm going to say -6x, and then plus y squared plus 4y equals, let's give ourselves a little bit more room, equals -4. And so now what I would do if I did this equation is I would go and first I would complete this square, so half of -6 is -3. That means it's going to become x minus 3 squared, and then -3 squared is 9. So I would say plus 9. So I'm adding 9 to both sides. Now let's talk about our other part. That's this. Now let's see. 4 divided by 2, because 4 is my b value in this case, is 2. So in this case I would say 2 squared is 4. So I'm adding 4. So what we end up getting is plus, not x, I keep doing this, plus y plus 2 squared equals, in this case, 9. So let's talk about what is our radius, or what is our center. Our center in this case would be 3, -2, and our radius would be 3. So there we go. There's a center. And let's go 3, -2. Oh, I forgot to actually close that parenthesis. So 1, 2, 3, -2, and then radius of 3. So 3, 3, 3, 3, and there we go. And that's it. So thanks for watching. If you would please make sure that if you were following along that you now do your homework. If not, like, subscribe, all that.